And our second distinguished and inspiring speaker, as Mr. Ferrer mentioned, is one of the top trial lawyers in the United States. And there's really four things I can say about him, all of which led to inviting him. Despite an incredibly busy trial and representation schedule, this is a lawyer who takes time to be a leader of the bar, to give it, his time, he's here today to share his ideas with you, but he's a former governor of the Florida Bar Association. He's been on the board of the National Institute of Trial Advocacy, of the American Board of Trial Advocates, past president of the Dade County Bar Association, past president of the Dade County Trial Lawyers Association, a director of the Academy of Florida Trial Lawyers, someone who gives back. A graduate of the University of Miami Law School, he has become an incredibly effective and prominent attorney. If you looked at his bio, you saw that as of the time the biography was written, and the number's probably even higher now, that he has achieved for his clients 29 verdicts of $1 million and more. For some families, he's achieved verdicts of $65 million. When there is a major catastrophe in our country, he is one of the few lawyers in the country they turn to to lead the litigation. He was chosen for the committee that led the litigation in the BP oil spill. Many of you are familiar with all the damage and harm to people that was caused by Chinese drywall that was installed, especially in South Florida. He was one of the lead lawyers in that litigation to get recovery for the families. His national and local recognition is unrivaled. There's a publication called The Best Lawyers in America. There's one called Florida Super Lawyers. When they did Florida Super Lawyers, they put him on the cover as the example of what a Florida lawyer is. One year he was named among the top, actually several years, he was named among the top 10 lawyers in the state of Florida. In 2005, he was named one of the top 11 lawyers in the nation. That's, if you know how many thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of lawyers we have, to be that recognized is incredible. The reason that I invited him, however, is that I have oh, and by the way, he takes time to serve as a trustee of the university as well. But the reason I invited him is I've been present at several South Florida bar programs where we put together how to be a good lawyer, how to persuade juries, how to convince judges, and every significant panel I have attended, they have chosen him as the lawyer's lawyer to tell us how to be better at our craft. So not only does he talk to law students, not only does he talk to juries, but when lawyers want to know how to be better lawyers, they turn to Irvin Gonzalez, who donates his time to them as well. So please join me in welcoming another public-spirited citizen, Irvin Gonzalez, Esquire.
It's so wonderful to be with you here today to share some of my thoughts with you and to give you some guidance on your education and on your career. And I want to tell you, despite the introduction, it's just Irvin. Really, it's always been just Irvin. And I know who I am. I know where I came from. Willie stole my story. That man over there was sneaking out because we have very similar backgrounds. So he's leaving knowing he stole my story. That was practically my family you were talking about. Thank you for sharing. You were wonderful. The bottom line is this. There's no reason in the world you can't achieve whatever you want to achieve. And the only person that's going to stop you lives inside of you. It's you. Period. The one thing about this amazing country is that it doesn't give you things for free except one thing: opportunity. Nobody's going to say, okay, we're going to make you a multimillionaire, or we're going to make you the greatest lawyer in the universe, or we're going to make you the best judge in the universe, or we're going to make you the most wonderful director of the Academy of Florida Trial Lawyers in the universe. They're not going to give it to you. But if you want it, you can have it. Just go get it. Period. No one will stop you except yourself. And that's the key. So I'm going to cover three things with you. First, I'm going to cover education. Then I'm going to give you some examples of my life and how I did it. And then I'm going to show you I'm going to suggest to you how you may want to consider framing your lives. And it all starts with something that I really believe in. It's four things. I live by it. Everything that I do. Everything. First, I have to see it in my mind's eye. Vision. You have to have vision. Second thing is you have to believe it to be true for you. All right? That's number two. Number three, you need a detailed action plan. How am I going to get there? And number four, you all know what it is, right? You got to do it. Right? You got to take action. You got to make it happen. And the problem is a lot of people have beautiful dreams. We need our dreams. Without our dreams, we go nowhere. But then they do nothing with the dream. Then others have the dream, and they believe, well, that could be me. But then they have no action plan. They don't decide. They can't figure out how to get there. And then there are people that do all three things. They have the dream. They believe, well, why not me? It should be me. And then they have a good plan. If I do this, this, and this, I'll get there. But then they sit down and they watch other people rise to the occasion because they don't follow through. They don't make it happen. So if you do all four things, I guarantee you will be successful. I banged on this because it's that important. I guarantee if you do it, you will be successful. It's that easy. But the problem is, most people won't do it. They won't. They're either lazy, or they get distracted, or they lose focus. They're not disciplined. You got to be your own coach. All these people hire coaches now. You don't need a coach. You're your coach. Get up, Irvin. Go do this. Make it happen. So that's the key. And that's the key to being successful in law school. That's the key of being successful in getting the job and developing your reputation and developing the skills necessary to be the best at your job. That's what it is. Nothing more. That's really what it is. That's the secret. So if you take anything from what I'm saying, please take this, the four things. See it, believe it, plan it, do it, and you will be successful. So I'm about to give you the secret of law school. And it's probably going to upset your professors because you're not supposed to figure it out until after you graduate. But I really figured out what law school is all about, and I'm going to share it with you. And it's going to help you figure out what's going on. In college, high school, college, teacher teaches. You learn, you read the book, they ask you questions right from the book and right from the lectures, you get good grades. Pretty easy, right? All right. In law school, they don't teach. They don't. I'm not joking. It's not about teaching. They teach you this, how to teach yourself. That's what you're learning. How to teach yourself, how to learn on your own, how to research on your own, how to solve problems on your own. Why? Because when you go to practice law, the client doesn't come in and say, by the way, here's my problem, and by the way, here's the solution. They don't do that. They come to you, problem. They challenge you. Here's my problem. Fix it. You, fix my problem. And you got to figure out how am I going to fix this problem. That's what law school's about. So the professor challenges you. The professor's going to ask you questions. The professor's going to take you to the mat. Then he's going to bring up the next student and have the student stand up and take that position you took and challenge that. And then another one. And everybody's at each other. And in that process, you're figuring out, okay, well, I have to find the rule of law that applies to this. And then I have to apply it to the facts that we're working with it. And now I have to defend it. Me. So what we're doing, we who teach, is we're forming your minds to be able to research, to learn, to apply, to defend using the law and the facts. That's what law school is all about. And by challenging you, it also develops your strength, your fortitude, your courage. Because you need that. Whether you're doing transactional work or tax work or trial work, which is what I do, you need to be able to have courage, confidence in the abilities that you have to research and be a problem solver and make things happen. So that's what law school is about. So stop trying to complain or worry about, gee, he's not teaching, she's not teaching. They're not supposed to. You're the teacher. You're the one that's going to explain the law. You're the one that's going to defend the law. You're the one that's going to develop the policy where the law should go. And that's what you're going to be doing for the rest of your lives. And as long as you understand that, then you can enjoy this process. It's supposed to be this way. It's kind of exciting. It's fun. So consider that when you see the whole process of what you're going through in law school and the challenges, why are they doing this? Why are they mean? They're not mean. They're helping you to be successful in life. Life as an attorney in all aspects of it. So what do? I sue very big companies that do very, very bad things. And I really dig it. It's so much fun. Sometimes I get excited. I mean, you're paying me for doing this? This is like great. But when I started my life, like Willie, very modest family. I worked in high school. I worked at Winn-Dixie as a bag boy and was promoted to stockman. Pretty good. When a deli manager went out on vacation, I was the assistant deli manager, which was kind of cool. I gained like 10 pounds. One of the friends' benefits, anything that's left over you can have. It's, oh, okay. I worked at a men's department store. It's no longer in existence. It's like a Macy's. It was Jordan Marsh at the time when I was going to college. I went here to college, Biscayne College. So I'm a graduate of St. Thomas University in political science, pre-law. We didn't have a law school back then. We just had undergrad. So I'm very proud of this school. I call it a scrapper school. And we're not highbrow necessarily, but we get good education here, and we come out with the ability to scrap with anything and anybody. Really, this school does that to you. It's really good. Yeah. So I often work two jobs. I was a DJ at night, playing King Says 15s and weddings, and yeah, seriously. Full-time student, and I was working the day job in between because you had to make it happen, and then the night DJing thing. Then I got into law school and went to the University of Miami Law School and then went out to work. Now I'm going to talk to you about courage. And I'm going to explain to you what I mean by courage. Because here's what you're going to find. You're going to have to make some very difficult decisions in your life to direct your life in the way it should go. And I want you to direct your life. I'm going to take a different position than what Willie suggested, the U.S. Attorney. And you'll make up your mind the way you want to go. But I differ with him in this. I would like you to find your passion today. Today. As soon as possible. Find your passion. It lives inside of you. It's not going to be what your friend tells you or what your parents tell you or what your significant other tells you. It's going to be from within. What do you really want to do in life? Who do you really want to be in life? What impact do you want to have in your community? What changes do you want to make in your society? What kind of work would you like to be doing in the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 35, 50 years? How would you like to be seen and recognized? When you die, what would your obituary like? How would you like it to read? Here's a woman, divorced 3 times, had a kid, hated her life, she's dead. Or, not good, huh? Not that one. Or, you could be whatever you want. Impacted change, affected millions, created new laws, made the world better for others, put away 25,000 bad guys in jail, or whatever it is that you like. Brought BP oil to their knees for polluting the Gulf of Mexico and destroying the environment. Right now, you've got blanks of paper in front of you, and you got this beautiful pen. And you know what it's for? You're going to write your future. You're going to write it out. This is who I am. This is who I am. You already are that. You are your future. You are that now. Let's write it out the way it should be. And the way it should be is the way you want it to be. Okay? Now, sometimes it takes courage. And let me explain to you. I'm going to give you examples of my life. Parts of it are going to sound like I'm bragging, maybe a little bit. But the reason I'm doing it is to show you that if a person like me, I'm really not special. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I'm not the best looking guy in the world, although I tell my wife that I am. My mom thinks I am. Nothing special about me. What I'm going to share with you is, despite being very average, how I've been able to do some of the things you heard about earlier, and some of the cases I've been able to handle. How did I do it? I'm going to show you exactly how I did it in a few minutes. I got a job at a very large law firm. It's kind of like a Holland and Knight now. It doesn't exist anymore. All these great firms are gone. But it was Fine, Jacobson, Schwartz, Nash, Block in England, PA. And at the time, it was a very prominent law firm. And it had different departments: corporate law, administrative law, litigation, tax, all sorts of stuff. And I clerked there one summer. And the whole thing is, if you can clerk there this summer and work really hard, you might be able to impress the partners into extending an offer at the end of the summer. You see? So I worked really hard, and I was trying to make it happen. And I was fortunate enough to get an offer that summer. So I was really excited. Well, at the time, it was a lot of money. It was like $45,000 starting salary. This is 1985. And a $5,000 signing bonus to help you with the bar and everything else. Right, really good. I want to be a trial lawyer. That's my passion. I wanted to represent individuals and corporations that had been wronged. I wanted to impact change that way through civil litigation. I want to be a civil trial lawyer. That's what I did. Really wanted to do that. So here's the problem. Our firm did administrative law. Guess who the head of administration was? The name of the firm is Fine, Jacobson, Schwartz, Nash, Block in England. Take a guess. Fine, yes. Guess what happens? Oh, congratulations, Irvin. Mr. Fine would love to have you work for him in his administrative law department. He personally chose you. Administrative law. Yuck. Now what am I going to do? So here's the whole thing. $40,000 starting salary, $5,000 signing bonus. The economy was tough back then. There weren't a lot of jobs for lawyers. So what does a young man do? Talks to Dad, right? Dad, give me some sage advice. So, Dad, here's the story. Mr. Fine, head of administration. He wants me to do administration. I hate administration. I want to do something else. No. You take the job and you do what Mr. Fine say. You crazy. That was his advice. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. That's not where my passion was. That's not what I wanted to do. Really, I thought I'd be dead. That's like really work. Misery. Yeah. So I got the courage. Here's where courage comes in. I asked, and by the way, being nice to the secretary, yes, big important thing. Always be nice to the judge's secretaries, your supervisor's secretaries, important. I spoke to Mr. Fine's secretary. Can I speak with Mr. Fine, please? I really need to talk to him. And her name was Carmen. Carmen said, yes, I'm going to set it up for you. And she thought I'm there to thank Mr. Fine for the job. And Mr. Fine thought I was there to thank him for the job. So I walk into Mr. Fine's office. It's about this big. Seriously. The couch was like that long. And all of a sudden, I felt this big. And I'm in my suit, and I feel like I'm shrinking. Have you ever had the thought like you're shrinking in your suit, you're disappearing? I'm getting smaller and smaller. So I'm sitting in the couch now thinking maybe I should just shut up. And then walks Mr. Fine, the guy whose picture is in the library. Looking very dapper and appropriate with a white hair, the whole bit. And so I said, Mr. Fine, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to work at your firm. I think it's an amazing law firm. I'm so honored. And he's smiling. He's all happy. And I'm going, oh, this is getting harder. But I want to be a trial lawyer. That's what I really want to do, trial lawyer. Administrative law is wonderful, but I want to be a trial lawyer. So I'm thinking, ooh, here it comes. So he stands up. He says, okay, come with me. I think, oh, that's it. I screwed it up. He's going to walk me out the door. He took me to meet Erwin Block, who was the head of litigation. And he said, Erwin, here's your next trial associate. Take good care of him. He's a good boy. Yeah. So I'm going, yeah, I'm a trial lawyer. That's right. But think about it. Let's go back. Had I not, that was the most important decision I made in my professional life after graduation. Why? Had I been an administrative lawyer, I would have not been following my passion. I would have been working a job. It's mediocre life. It's boring. I would have been a bad lawyer because I'm not into it. I wouldn't be speaking to you. I wouldn't be in any of those top list of lawyers I wouldn't be handling amazing cases in the country. I wouldn't be impacting change in my community. I wouldn't be lecturing. I wouldn't be teaching. I wouldn't be writing. I would be miserable. I couldn't wait for the weekend, right? Oh, this is just work. But I had the courage to say, no, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to be. This is how I define myself. And it made all the difference in the world. So when I was working there, I learned a lot. I was writing and researching and researching and writing and writing and researching and researching and writing and writing and researching. And I was doing a lot of memos and helping a lot of lawyers make arguments. And I figured, I think I could do this. I mean, they're pretty good, but I took litigation skills in law school, so it's kind of like staying at the Holiday Inn, right? I could do this. So I went out at that point. It's better not to know what you don't know. I went out with another partner that had left their firm because we were going to just start making this thing happen. We want to be trial lawyers, and in these big law firms, it's going to take too long. I'd probably be 172 by the time I could be lead counsel. So I went off on my own after like roughly 3 years or so. And in the beginning, we did a little bit of door law. You know what door law is? Whatever walks in the door? Yeah, we can do that. I was 28 years old, and I remember I got my first big break. Here's what it was. A lawyer who was handling a case on an hourly basis at a big firm who's no longer in existence, Steele, Hector, and Davis, they had a client who couldn't afford their bills anymore. And then we would do contingency fee work, meaning we would do it for a percentage of whatever we could recover. So he said to his partner, can we send the case to Irvin, and if the client likes him, they can hire him? The partner said yes, and the client came over and I took the case. It was a case involving a radiology group at North Miami General Hospital that was owed like $750,000 because the hospital was purchased by another group, Republic Healthcare, and that group decided that because it was an in-house radiology group, that it was all part of the contractual deal with the main hospital, and that the $750,000 for Medicare services belonged to the new owner, okay, by contract. So the radiology group said, wait a minute, we did the work, that's our money, and we're supposed to get paid, and we didn't get paid. How could this happen? Right? So that was what the lawsuit was about. So I got the lawsuit, and I'm expecting, wow, we can probably settle it for several $100,000, and everybody will be happy. Right? Big case. It didn't happen. They didn't want to sell. They offered garbage money. The client rejected it. So my law partner and I, we were in one of those rental spaces where you kind of share space with other lawyers, and there's a receptionist in the middle that's everybody's receptionist. And we had metal furniture that we leased and didn't have any secretary, really. Yeah. So now we have to go take depositions in New York of these fancy accountants that the defendants had hired and all of their big experts on business development, all these different issues. And I remember flying up there, we're scraping every dollar together to make it happen. And we're taking the depositions on Park Avenue in these big fancy offices with wooden furniture and leather chairs and everything else. And I'm remembering, okay, fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it. Don't shake. Stop shaking. Ask those questions. So we got through the discovery. The case still didn't settle. And I took it to trial. The case went to trial. Judge Bloom was the judge. I remember this, and I'll tell you why it's important in a minute. But I tried the case, and they brought in hundreds of boxes of documents with contracts and experts and everything. What I argued was I had a really simple theme. We did the work. This is the defendant over here, the dean. They kept the money. Something wrong with that. That was my theme. My client did the work, and he wants to keep the money. Something's wrong with that. That was my theme. And I told the jury, despite the thousands of pages of documents that they're showing, this is a 5-document case. First, we're going to show you the work that we provided, the bill that we sent, Medicare's acknowledgement, Medicare issuing the $750,000 check, and the defendant's bank account with my client's money. It's a 5-document case. And what they've done is they created this haystack to hide the needle. But I got the needles. There's 5 of them. That's what it is. And that's what I did. I presented the case with 5 simple documents and a very common sense argument. We did the work. We're supposed to be paid. The check was made out to us. They kept the money. They can talk contracts all they want. The bottom line is, that's our money. They stole our money, period. And I sued for conversion. I sued for civil theft. This is like my first really, really big trial. And because we can get punitive damages and we can get civil theft. And remember, we've been paying all the costs and we don't have any money, so we're putting up together whatever we have. So the funds are getting down like real low. And we're sweating. When I say we, it's me. I'm sweating. Because I'm not telling my client that I'm sweating, obviously. Then about 3.5 hours after the jury is deliberating, there's a knock on the door. Usually means there's a verdict. So your heart literally stops. It's like, oh my God, there's a verdict. You know, what's going to happen? So I thought it was going to be the verdict. The bailiff gets the paper. He gives it to Judge Bloom. Judge Bloom looks at the paper. Nobody's telling us what it says. Judge Bloom starts to smile. Nobody knows. So he says, let's handle this over in my chamber. So we walk out of chambers. I'm still not, like, what's going on? What's happening? Then, when we get into chambers, he reads the question. When we award in favor of the plaintiff, do we consider and award attorney's fees? Oh, yeah. So, I'm cool because I'm the trial lawyer. The defense lawyers and all of their entourage and the defendants, they all huff out. The judge leaves, and I'm in the chambers with my client. Everybody's gone. And it's like, yeah, this is great. So about roughly an hour later, knock on the door. $4.5 million. $4.5 million. Yes, sir. Trial lawyer. So we went from metal desks to wooden desks. We went from a little area we were sharing with 100 people to our own little office. And then the referrals started coming because people said, that kid can try cases. And he can do it on a contingency fee basis. Courage. That takes courage. See, it's not hard, but you got to do it. And if you don't do it, then you can't complain. So that's the key. So I'm not smarter than anybody. I'm not more special than anybody. I don't have any great skills. I'm very average. But I've been able to do some things that are impressive despite that because of the principles that I'm sharing with you. You have to believe it. You have to see it, believe it, plan it, and do it. And don't let anybody or anything ever get in your way. Because you can and you will achieve whatever you give yourself permission to do. And it's that simple. So what I'd like you to do, and starting today, is find some quiet time. I know it's tough when you're in law school because there's a lot going on. Find some quiet time. What turns me on? What will excite me? What will motivate me? What will make me want to take on the challenges every single day? Like the Chinese proverb, the longest journey starts with one small step. But you got to take it. You got to take it every single day. And it adds up. And when it's all over, you're going to see how far you traveled. So figure out what that is. Find that passion. And then pursue it with a vengeance. And be successful. And if you ever need me for anything, I mean this, please feel free to contact me. I'm easy to find. Just Google Irvin Gonzalez. And I will always respond to you. I'll answer the questions that you might have. I will tell you sincerely, I will tell you directly, and I will help you. The only thing I ask is that when you have the opportunity to help someone else, please do the same. Once again, congratulations on your acceptance to this wonderful law school. I know you will reach great things, and I look forward to seeing, hearing, and reading about your successes in the future. Thank you very much.
Yeah, in a moment, we'll take a 5-minute break before the next part of our program, but I just want to mention one thing that Irvin or Mr. Gonzalez was maybe too humble to mention, but the impact a lawyer can have in his or her career. Across the country, there are manufacturers who are being careful, who are saying, you know, maybe we should put that safety bar on this product because if we don't, there's somebody out there who's going to make sure that we pay for those families we hurt. And there are medical groups that are saying, you know, maybe we better have the doctor check the patient in person instead of relying on the preliminary report, because if we don't, there's somebody out there that's going to help this family as best he can recover from this tragedy by making sure you don't get that sloppy again. I mean, the civil trial bar ends up changing the world in ways that you don't see, because there are safety things. There are people being careful because we have, you know, we talked about law enforcement with Willie Ferrer, and you know, we know the law, and the law keeps us in line, but the plaintiff civil bar keeps us in line too, and that makes us a better country. So thank you. If you can take your seat, we'll have another exciting part of the program.
Good morning. Wow, the dean's kind of giving me a tough act to follow. So I've been getting a bit of feedback from students that I don't know, the things that we're saying about the character and fitness issues that or issue that's addressed by the bar and the bar application process seem to many of you to be so daunting that you don't want to confront it. So the purpose of this presentation is to kind of maybe demystify that process for you and to hopefully let you know that you need to really get started on the process sooner rather than later. You don't make these problems become less significant by pretending they don't exist if there are any problems that do exist. So I'm going to introduce, we have two guest speakers today. The plan is that they will each give you a little brief overview of a particular topic that I've asked them to cover, and then we'll have a brief question and answer session. They'll also have business cards available if you want to contact them later. So one of our speakers today is Mr. Stephen Pinkert. He's seated here immediately to my right. Mr. Pinkert's been an attorney in South Florida for quite a bit of time. I just found out recently he has quite an interesting background. He actually has a doctor. He was a doctor in medicine. He received a degree from Northwestern University Medical Center in Chicago and was a physician for almost 20 years before he decided to go to law school. And then he became a quite successful lawyer involved in structuring acquisitions and state-of-the-art medical equipment. And he's been involved in quite a bit of Latin American and Chinese business industry endeavors most recently. But he also has always had a significant aspect of his practice devoted to professional regulation and specifically to bar admission, bar grievances, and the like. So I've asked Mr. Pinkert to be one of our speakers, and he's going to speak first. And our second speaker is one of our graduates here that I always ask to come back, and that is Laura Serrate. He's sitting right there. Mr. Serrate is a securities lawyer and has been involved in representing hundreds of investors against major Wall Street firms. He's recouped over $10 million from defrauded investors. And in addition to that significant practice, Lars has also devoted a significant portion of his practice to representing professionals in disciplinary hearings before the Florida Bar and the other boards that are with regard to the various professions in Florida. So both of them have significant experience involving the process involving getting through the character and fitness inquiry engaged in by the bar. And by the way, much of this is applicable not just to Florida, but to really to every bar. But the focus today, obviously, is the Florida bar. So I'm going to ask Mr. Pinker to come forward first and give you some overview of how this process works. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. This will not be as much fun as Irvin's talk, unfortunately. Irvin Gonzalez, who is a very, very well-respected lawyer here in South Florida, who you just heard, he told you in his last few statements, he said, don't let anything get in your way. I want to talk to you about one of the things that can get in your way. And Lars is going to talk about it too. And I know you've heard about it previously. And that is the Florida Bar, and in particular, for now, the Florida Board of Bar Examiners. They can get in your way. It is a very, very serious matter. They are going to determine whether you have appropriate character and fitness to become a lawyer in Florida. And as Dean Hernandez just said, it's the same just about in every jurisdiction. Yes, some jurisdictions are a little bit easier than others, some are a little more difficult, but it's very, very similar no matter where you're going to go. Now, I'm just going to do an overview, and then Lars is going to talk to you about specific areas. Number one issue: what is the worst thing you can do to stay out of the Florida bar? Lie or not to disclose. That is the absolute worst thing to do. Now, I know most of you are saying, well, I would never do that. Maybe so. But there are hundreds and hundreds of law students every year that are called before the Florida Board of Bar Examiners to have a hearing. And it can be, as Lars will tell you, it can be a real mess. So, number one thing is to fully disclose anything and be very, very broad. Don't limit what you disclose to the call of the question. I only have about 10 minutes, so I want to turn to the most immediate issue for you, and that is your law school application. The Board of Bar Examiners is going to make a determination not just whether you have good character, but do you have present good character. That is their standard. Well, how far is present? Well, it depends how bad what you did and how long ago it was. Obviously, if you committed treason while you were in the U.S. Army 7 years ago, it's going to take a long time to overcome treason. And we do have a lawyer, by the way, in the Florida Bar who was convicted of treason, and he is a lawyer today. That is true. But I don't recommend it. It's very difficult. So, the further things are away that you've made a mistake, the better. The closer they are to your application to the Florida Bar, the worse. So, as a general cutoff, you have to be or try to be nearly perfect once you're admitted to law school. So, the first issue, amending your law school application. I know many of you need to amend your law school applications. Dean Hernandez sees these things all the time. Generally speaking, they'll let you get by on the first amendment. Have you already covered this?
A little bit.
A little. Generally. You have to amend your application. If there are any inaccuracies in your application, I know you want to put yourself out there the best you can so you get admitted and they don't think you're like a horrible person, da-da-da-da-da. You're in. You've been in school. Fine. They don't want to lose you as a student. Come clean now. Go and have a meeting if you're not sure what you need to do. But at this meeting with Dean Hernandez or whoever you meet with, it is very important that you are completely open and fully disclose. A few years ago, I had a talk. It was a very similar talk I gave here, and I warned people, the one thing you don't want to do is have to amend twice. Because the Board of Bar Examiners is going to look at these amendments and look at your application, and they're going to say, so you mean to tell me that you lied on your law school application, and then you lied on your amendment, so you had to go back and amend again? Do not do this. The Board of Bar Examiners will generally not believe that you didn't remember. It's your burden to remember and to fully disclose. Amend one time and do it right. If you have to amend again, amend again. Don't leave something material out of your law school application. Now, I'm going to mention just a couple of areas. I only have a couple of minutes left. A couple of areas that you need to think about. For those of you that are going to promptly start your Florida bar application, you need to first gather all the information. Do not rely on your memory, particularly as it involves anything to do with sanctions at school, any kind of sanctions at school, going on academic probation, going on probation for your conduct. Get the records. It's very important that the records are the same as what you write down in your application. Any arrests that you've had, don't just write down from your memory what happened. Oh, I was going 70 and yeah, maybe I had a drink, I had one drink. And then later on, the Board of Bar Examiners has the arrest form where you admit to 5 drinks. That is a big problem. So gather all your records. Gather all your educational records. Even if you think you know it, get everything together and use all your records to fill out your application. Facebook. Facebook and other social media is a big issue, and you shouldn't dismiss it. If let's say that you were arrested for a public intoxication when you were in college, and the Board of Bar Examiners asks you to explain this, and you casually mention, and maybe you've mentioned it on your law school amendment, I don't drink much anymore. And on Facebook, there's these pictures of you, whoa, with drinking and crazy. You got to be out of your mind. The Board of Bar Examiners is going to look through your Facebook, and they're going to ask permission, and they're going to look at it. And you're going to look like a liar. And it's going to be really hard to explain that. So I want to warn you, what you have out there in Facebook, what you have in social media, you need to think about it. There's a lot of things that you could have in there that could be a problem for you. Finally, I want to mention alcohol and drugs. If you have a history of alcohol or drug problems, then I think you need to come and talk to the dean about it. And we have an organization here that's affiliated with the Florida Bar called Florida Lawyers Assistance. I think they've been here to speak to you already. You do not have to be afraid of these guys. They're really good guys. I know them well. I think Judy Rushlow spoke, or Michael? Judy spoke. She's a really nice person, and they will help you. And if you think you have a problem you can talk to Dean Hernandez about it. If you think you have a problem that could cause you difficulty when you're applying to the bar, you should get started with Florida Lawyers Assistance now. That way you build up a record of compliance, and yes, you're going to have to stop drinking and drugging. That's just the sacrifice you're going to have to make. I'm sorry. Okay, so I think that's a good basic introduction, okay? Lars?
All right, well, I'm just going to build a little bit upon what you said. My name is Lars Sareta. I'm a former St. Thomas alum. I graduated in 2008, so I'm now on my 5th anniversary as a licensed attorney. So everyone here is a 1L, right? Okay, so I was sitting where you were sitting exactly 8 years ago, so it's not too distant of a memory. I love Dean Hernandez's introduction. I have recovered many, many millions of dollars for investors, not from investors. I'd be stealing from my own clients. But yeah, I do devote a substantial portion of my practice to professional licensing defense. And I think it all kind of falls under the umbrella of administrative law, where you're going before different regulatory organizations. For instance, in the security space, it's largely the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. For a dentist, it's the Board of Dentistry, and for you guys, it's the Board of Bar Examiners, which is where you don't want to end up. So I'm really here today to talk about the $100,000 question, or maybe the $150,000 question, whatever tuition costs these days, is can you turn the JD into an ESQ? Can you get a license? So that's why you're all here. And Florida is, unfortunately, the toughest jurisdiction in the country when it comes to character and fitness issues. And in the 5 years I've been practicing on my own. I was one of the crazy people that went out on my own right away. I've represented probably, I don't keep exact figures, but it's north of 100 people before the Board of Bar Examiners in investigative hearings and formal hearings. And a little bit about the process, just so you kind of get a chronology of what the road ahead looks like, is you started with the law school application. That's the first document you sign under penalty of perjury. You got to start reading the fine print. You're actually swearing and attesting to what's in those documents, and then you're going to apply as a student registrant, which is what you'll all be doing this year, which starts the investigation. And then in your third year is when you actually convert the student registrant application into a bar application. And at any point in time, the board can send you a notice or a call letter that says, we want to talk to you about the following items, and they'll itemize all the different things that they want to investigate. And it's an informal hearing. It's really relaxed evidentiary rules, and you're going to have 3 board members sitting in front of you asking you very specific questions about incidents that happened in your past. Now, to prepare for that hearing, I would recommend first consulting an attorney. It's a little plug for myself. But read Florida. It's not a secret. There's actually rules that tell you what specifically they're looking for from you, and they're found in Florida Bar Rule 312 and Florida Bar Rule 3-13. And they outline what actually they look for when they're doing this weighing test, where they're going to look at all the good things you've ever done and all the bad things you've ever done, and they're going to have to decide whether or not the good outweighs the bad. So just look at those rules and start to think about, well, maybe that's a little premature because it's really more in preparation for a hearing of, what can you be doing to satisfy some of those elements of some of those rules that they outline. Specifically, one of the issues that has been coming up with more frequency, and it's really just largely a sign of the times, the economic times, is financial problems. Now, the board, obviously, you can probably guess why they'd be concerned with only admitting people to the bar that are financially responsible. It's because once they give you that license, whether you do it or not, you have the ability to open a law office and open a trust account. So that's the number one reason why licensed lawyers get disbarred, is because of trust accounting violations and people, lawyers borrowing money from their own clients and then putting it back. And so that's the number one reason for disbarment. So with respect to financial issues, just one thing you should know about that is that the bar isn't a debt collection service. They don't want to force you to pay all of your creditors, but really what they're looking at is, are you turning your back on your creditors? Are you just letting bills pile up? Are you still being irresponsible with the credit cards? And is your home in foreclosure? And if so, are you communicating with the bank? Are you documenting that communication? Have you attempted to short sale the home? You really just don't want to be sitting before them with any today problems. So really one of the things that I work with a lot of my clients with is making sure that when you're sitting before the board, you can tell them that these are all past problems. You don't want to be sitting before them with a laundry list of unpaid bills where you could close out most of these balances for nominal amounts. And that way it makes you look a lot more responsible before the eyes of the board. Clearly, candor is the most important issue. And I have clients come to me all the time with their call letters, and there's 16 items, and they're all different items, but it's all largely related to either candor, financial irresponsibility, or substance abuse. Those are really the 3 areas that really everyone's problems ultimately kind of fall into. So with respect to candor, they know that law schools, especially with first-year classes, have meetings like this, and they sit everyone down and they explain to them the importance of candor and that you have to go amend. They know that all takes place now. So it's really tough to have to explain why you didn't amend, because the dean is very forgiving, and this is your opportunity now to disclose that DUI you didn't disclose. You're already here, right? So I haven't seen an instance where they kicked anyone out yet, but that could potentially happen. But it's better to get kicked out of school, in my opinion, than to go through 3 years of this for nothing. So I say just be honest, just amend everything now while you can, get it all out in the open, because everyone, like the board is, I mean, they're not unreasonable. They know that everyone has had a life, everyone's made mistakes, but the question is that, are you going to continue to make those mistakes, and are you willing to continue to make those mistakes as a professional? And now that you're in a professional school, you're all professionals. So if you choose to lie now, then what do they have to go on to ensure that you're not going to lie as a licensed attorney? So keep that in mind, and you know, I've been before the board when I applied. You know, I've been you know, that's one of the reasons why I do this, is because like I went through this horrible process and I came out successfully from that, and you know, that was really what started to make me aware of that there's a whole like group of people every year that go through this. You know, almost 10 to 15% of people that apply to the bar get called in for investigative hearings now. So, and I can certainly empathize with what you're all going through, with people who end up in that situation, and there's clearly ways to responsibly handle that to ensure that you will get admitted. And I can say that of the 100 plus people I've represented, there isn't one of them that ever got denied from the Board of Bar Examiners. Some had a tougher road than others, but they were all ultimately admitted because they put the work in and did what they needed to do to kind of mitigate the past mistakes. So, you know, I'm happy to speak to any of you anytime if you have any questions throughout your law school career when you're applying. If you want to ask, you know, how to phrase something, I'm always happy to take those questions. You know, I'm online at floridabarhearing.com, so I'm easy to find. Or you know, if you want to get in touch with me, you can always contact the dean. I'll be happy to hand out any business cards today. But if anyone has any issues with, you know, oh, what you said really resonated with me, and I have something that I was really afraid to disclose, and I don't know how to do it, you know, just feel free to call me or email me. You know, obviously, it stays between us, and I really do this largely not for money. I mean, I make my money from like large contingency fee cases against banks and brokerage firms. I do this for the relationship that extends throughout the entire career that you'll have in Florida. So I welcome those types of questions, and I hope to hear from all of you in the near future. So thank you for having me. And it's good to be back, my alma mater. So, thank you.
I asked both of them to come so that they could give you some real-world experience in this. And I just want to keep stressing, because I keep getting 3Ls coming into my office amending their applications about something that happened before they were even in law school, and I don't understand why they're waiting until their third year, and they're creating an issue, a possible issue with the bar. It's not necessarily going to be about the substance of whatever the amendment was, but why were they so dilatory in not amending their application when we've had, this is like the second or third time that we've told you this. I'm not trying to scare you. We're trying to facilitate allowing you to realize your own success, but you have to enable us to work with you to accomplish that. Does anybody have any questions that you might want to ask now? Okay, the dean wants to add something.
Yeah, I wanted to add one more point about, you know, working with Dean Hernandez on the disclosure. It may be that you have no problem at all. But if in the back of your head you're thinking, you know, what if I should have disclosed that? And, you know, you don't want to go through law school with that anxiety. You know, if you go and you ask him, and he can say, no, that's not a problem. If it is, this is the time to fix it. And finally, if you had a serious issue, you know, we all mature and grow and learn and may have been foolish at an earlier stage of our life. But if you had a serious issue, as they mentioned, the bar examiners want to know, who are you now? Who will you be going forward? And so you want to show you've remedied that problem. If you had an anger management issue, for example, and you identify it, they can help you find people so you can prove that you went through a counseling program or a therapy program. So when you get to the bar, they don't require you to do that because you've shown you took it seriously. Same thing on substance abuse, same thing on credit abuse. Just, there are people in this country who can help. The bar examiners want you to be reliable before we're going to trust you with other people's futures. And so if you disclose early, you show that you have dealt with it, then you're in a much stronger position. And these folks can help you find someone, to help you deal with it in time. So when you graduate, you've got your problems behind you, and they can trust you.
Does anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that's probably one of those kind of things that you should come talk to me, and we can decide whether you need to amend it. Yes, we don't. The old application doesn't disappear. The amendment is another document that becomes an addendum to your original application. But it might be useful that the bar sees that you've made something more clear, or if there was some ambiguity, or even if there was a complete non-disclosure or misrepresentation, to own it early and get it out there. You do yourself a much bigger favor. Any other questions, comments? We suggest that the 1Ls, and I think this is almost all 1Ls, but there might be a few of you that are not. We suggest that you plan on working on this over the Christmas break. That's kind of a great time that can be allotted to it. You're finished with school then, and there's some cost savings by filing. I forgot, by about the second week in January. I think the dates on the web. So you probably should work on this. This is probably something you should work on over Christmas break. You should go and download from the Florida Board of Bar Examiners a checklist of the information that you'll need. Don't let the fact that this is a somewhat significant task keep you from doing it. It's not going to get any easier the longer you wait to do it. And also you can also come to us now if you have any questions or problems, or I have people come in and say, they just got a ticket for running the stop sign on school, and they're worried about whether or not that's something you have to disclose. No, you don't have to disclose that. So, but I've also had people where they've had relatively, a relatively minor infraction that occurred while they were living in a dormitory in college, which they didn't disclose. They didn't disclose it on their original law school application. They didn't disclose it on their bar application. The bar then found out about it. The infraction itself would have been of virtually no significance to either the law school or the bar. The lack of candor became the issue, and the person had to have a hearing about something like a noise violation in their dorm. I mean, it's just silly. So you have, I say, and I think most of the practitioners in this area, and I know Dean Singer also says, err on the side of disclosure. And again, if you're not sure, come ask us and we can help you. And, there's an adage that a lawyer who represents himself has a fool for a client. This is one area of the law where I say that's particularly true. If you do have any potential issues, you need to make sure that you do get sound legal advice. And you even have to be careful of the lawyers that are providing you the advice, because the way that you handle these issues before the Florida Board of Bar Examiners is not the same way it would be handled in a criminal matter. In a criminal matter, you might want to try to argue a technicality in order to escape criminal responsibility. The bar doesn't want to hear you try to make some sort of cute argument that, well, it really wasn't all that it seems to be. That you're better off owning it with the bar. So there's a different approach to this. Yeah.
I just want to make a couple more quick points unless there's any other questions. The question that you heard someone ask in the audience is really a very important and revealing question. It's really important. Yes, they are going to look at your original application and they're going to look at your amendment. But heaven help you if you didn't amend and there's something that is untruthful in your original application. You're much better off to say, look, for X reason, I didn't tell you about this to the law school. Also, remember this. If you give a reason that's a lot of baloney, the Board of Bar Examiners is going to ask you about why you did that. They're going to say, wait a minute, you expect us to believe that the reason you didn't originally give a truthful answer on your law school application was because you didn't understand the law school's question? So when you amend, don't try to soft sell the amendment. Don't write it like, oh, I forgot, I didn't read the question. Just say, you know, I wanted to be accepted at the law school, and I was afraid that if I put this down about myself, it would reduce my chances of being accepted. Believe it or not, that is you agree? Yeah. That is the way to do it. They'll look at you later on at the Board of Bar Examiners, and they'll say, okay, this person understands about candor or honesty. A couple other things I want to mention real quick. I see Scott's here. Hey, Scott. A couple other things I want to mention real quick. You have a continuing obligation to update your law school application. If you are arrested or get a DUI or whatever, look at your law school application, read the question. If you're not sure whether you have to disclose it, immediately come talk to Dean Hernandez. Generally speaking, I don't know what the number of, is there a time limit on amendments in your application? Do it within 30 days.
Oh, you mean from,
when there's
no absolute time.
Okay, do it within 30 days. When it happens, and don't say to yourself, oh, you know, maybe this will resolve, so I shouldn't go and tell them. Absolutely not. Come, have a meeting, tell them what's happened. They'll give you advice. One other thing. Do not call a lawyer who represented you in some criminal matter in another state or who doesn't do this kind of work like me or Lars and ask them if you need to disclose something on your law school or your bar application. 99% of the time, they're wrong. Yes, why don't you say something about that?
Why don't
you explain to them?
Expunged from your criminal record, you still have to disclose it. So the mistake, one of the largest mistakes that I think that was just referenced now is in speaking with your former lawyer in another state. Oh, do I need to disclose this? You told me that that's like disappeared, it's expunged. And they'll say, yeah, no one knows about it. Well, the bar knows about it, and they want to see if you're dumb enough to not tell them. So just, if you read the language carefully, don't try to interpret the language for the interpretation that suits your situation best. Just read the plain language. It says, have you ever been convicted of a crime or accused of any violation of an honor code? Or, you have to disclose it regardless of whether it's been expunged. I mean, just read the plain language and answer the question. It's so funny to me sometimes is because, like, a lot of times I'm just sitting in my office with someone and I'm just reading to them the question out loud and they hear it differently and they think, oh, great, okay, yeah, I screwed up. So just read it slowly, read it out loud, read it a couple of times, read the whole question before you answer. Don't rush on your application, and you really shouldn't miss anything. I mean, just treat this as if this is your first case as an attorney. And, keep a file, keep a folder, one folder, three rings, hole-punched tabs. I hate it when people show up to my office and here's my bar file, it's a shoebox, and it's just like a mishmash of papers, and they can never find anything. I mean, just treat yourself as your own first client, and you'll be diligent and you'll be fine. So.
You're going to go immediately? Okay. Okay, so we're not going to take a break, but that's the end of this session. They'll have Lars and Stephen and myself obviously will be around for a little while following this next presentation. You have any questions, and if you do want to get in touch with them, you can contact me or them directly. Okay? Thank you very much.
right, good morning. Our final speaker for this morning is Dr. Scott Weinstein. He is a psychologist, and he is the clinical director for the Florida Lawyers Assistance Program. He has been in that position since 2004, and that is all I've been allowed to do by way of introduction at the doctor's request. He's going to speak today about kind of healthy living, healthy lawyering, what you can do right now to be successful in terms of time management, stress management, so you don't end up seeing Dr. Weinstein at any point in time. So here he is.
Okay, just listening to that last presentation, who's really stressed out right now? Okay. All right, I pick you. We'll do a group after this session, okay? We'll talk about our feelings. I'm not kidding. That's what I do for a living. Anyway, whoever heard of Florida Lawyers Assistance? Raise your hand. Really? Wow, that's a lot of you. I'm impressed. Who knows what we do? Yes? Which one do you have? No. You don't have to answer that. It's okay. It's okay. Because I have enough stress for all of us. Okay. I was driving down here at 103 miles an hour because I thought I'd be late. But I have to tell you, I have a daughter in law school at Nova, and she's a 3L, and I asked her for her advice about what to talk to you about today. And she said, Dad, I don't care, do what your best, but tell them not to do this anymore. No. What she basically said to me was, learn how to schedule some free time to take care of you, okay? How many people have a to-do list in this room? How many people have a to-don't list in this room? Okay, what's on your to-don't list? Awesome. When are we partying next? Very good. Who else has a to-don't list? Who knows what a to-don't list is? I just made it up. Okay. I don't have a to-do list, never had a to-do list, because my mind doesn't work like that. But you guys are in law school, and your minds have to work like that. That's what the dean told me to tell you, okay? But essentially, I am here to tell you, number one, the most important thing, if you walk away today with anything, is don't take yourselves too seriously, okay? And I mean that seriously, okay? How ironic is that? Because you're in law school, okay, and you have a long road ahead of you in terms of getting out of law school. In fact, look to your right and look to your left. You know about this one, right? Okay, I'm going to fool you. Make a friend with either of those people right now, okay, and make sure you know that they're going to be your buddies throughout law school, okay? Don't let them fail. Don't let them leave you. And if they do leave you, make sure you know how to contact them, because you could be freaking out in a couple of weeks. Very important, okay? And after that, I can tell you all the statistics, but I'll bore you to death. I don't want to do that because I'll bore myself to death. But FLA is an amazing resource for you all, okay? For those of you who know what we do, and I'm very impressed that you had the whole question answered, because what I do after you graduate from the school, when you graduate from the school, and I expect to see all of you at PWP, which is practicing with professionalism after this, okay, we talk about that. We talk about what FLA is all about, and I often ask the group, and maybe one person remembers who we are, okay? I hope you all remember who we are. Go to our website, okay? It's fla-lap.org, okay? And learn about us, because we're a really great resource for you. We are here to help you and to manage if you do get stressed, which you probably already are and will, okay, through law school, okay? You just heard the whole application process presented to you in how long did it take? 30 minutes. It was forced down your throats in 30 minutes, okay? How many people have started their application ready to the bar? Wow, okay, OCD, okay? I can do that because I'm a licensed psychologist, right? Okay. That's really impressive. My daughter, I think, had her application done week 2. That's how bad she is, okay? So, and we're completely different people. I don't know how she became my daughter. Anyhow, because I probably would have had mine finished about 3 years after law school if I was in law school. So, as you heard, keep organized. I don't know what that word means, but look it up in the dictionary or on Google, okay? And just make sure that you can laugh and smile, okay? My whole job here is to give you a sense that we are approachable, okay? The people up front here are approachable, okay? Don't run from these people. Reach out to them, okay? Part of what I think happens in law school and what my daughter told me to remember is take your ego and make sure it never happens, okay? Because after about halfway through year one, you think you're getting it, you start getting full of yourselves, and she says, don't do that. That's a bad thing, okay? So I always kept her in check because I said, Alana, which is her name, I said, you're getting full of yourself. She says, Dad, okay, I'll stop, all right? So those people you just reached out to and made friends, make sure you keep yourselves in check, okay? Don't let this get beyond you, okay? Law is a career, okay? How many people want to help people when they become a lawyer? How many people just want to do it for the money? There you go, okay, all right, there we go. Stand up, honest. No, wait a second. This is like, what's my line, okay? Well, both of you stand up, okay? Okay, these might be our first two casualties, folks. Say goodbye to them now, okay? I didn't say that. What kind of law do you guys want to get into? A sports agent. Okay, you know sports are on the downslide, right? We got all that drug stuff going on, and people. We're not going to have sports by the time you finish graduating. Okay, so what's your backup career? Good, me too. Right? All right. By the way, football players are people too. Just remember that. Okay, you can sit down now. Okay. Law is a profession that takes a lot from us, just like my profession is. Okay. My lot in life is to help and to reach out and to give, okay? I learned a long time ago that I needed to learn how to take a little bit back, okay? And I mean that very seriously. Learn how to manage and balance that, okay? Balance giving and giving and giving to the school and to the studies, but also balance that with taking some time and find her list, copy her list, disseminate that list to everyone. Excuse me? Party without the alcohol. Seriously? Okay. She's right, Dean. Party without the alcohol. All right. Okay. I'm supposed to say that, right? Okay, thank you for reminding me. But alcohol can be a problem. Okay, how many people think they have an alcohol problem right now? Okay, good. Just check in. How many people know somebody who they think has an alcohol problem? All right, without turning your heads, point. All right. All right, very important, okay? Alcohol can be abused. We know that terribly, okay? We also know that, okay, wait a minute. This is a trick question. Who ever heard of the term Adderall? Who knows someone who's taken Adderall this morning? Good. All right. Who knows that person very, very, very well? Okay. Yeah, that's one of those things that we have to be careful about because there's a competition in law school. No kidding. You always want to. Who wants to graduate on top of the class? Adderall, 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 Adderall. Okay. Okay. Who thinks you can do that without taking Adderall? You guys are so wrong. Okay. Because the person taking Adderall is, no, I'm just kidding. All right. The fact of the matter is that we try to do our best to be our best, okay? Who doesn't care how well they do grade-wise in law school, honestly? How come? Oh, to see? I always get you in twos. Go ahead. Go ahead, you can. all about getting the license. Okay. How about for you, ma'am? You want to do what? Oh. Okay. Anyone else? How many people believe him? All right. And red shirt? You just don't want to be the worst in the class. Good. Good answer. All right. All right. Who's going to make sure he's not the worst in the class? Okay? Good. She got your back, all right? Make sure you guys talk to each other after the meeting, okay? Very good. You're number 279, okay? She's 280. All right. Very good. And, truthfully, I'm glad I got you all laughing and smiling, okay? Because you're going to go into a year where it's going to be a grind, okay? We know that. You know that. Anyone want to leave now? Not a single person. Okay. You all take my number down and call me next week and tell me if you feel the same way, okay? All right. But again, it's going to be an amazing transformation for most of you. How many people are coming back for a second career in this room? You're a pilot. I'm sorry? You want to be an airline pilot and an aviation attorney, so you want to sue yourself. Okay. All right, very good. That's very impressive, sir. You? In pharmacy. Okay, and you got away from the drugs to... All right. Anyone else second? How about a third career? Yes, third? You can't make up your mind, can you? All right. What have you done in the past? Whoa. Okay, I'm sorry. Everything I said, don't hold against me, okay? All right. And my car is clean, all right? Just checking. Okay. So, and for the rest of you, it's a first-time thing, right? Good, okay. I want to just sit here and wish you the very best, okay? I am really very honored to be able to be here to talk to you today. 15 minutes doesn't do what I think this needs to be in terms of justice. You heard that word, right? Okay. But again, I want you to all write this number down because I didn't bring cards because that's how I roll. All right. I am that $10, was it Easy Print or Vista Print or 1, 2, 3 prints? The best $10 they spent. I never spent the $10. Okay. It's 800-282-8981. That's the number to the office. 800-282-8981. Okay. The website is www.fla-lap.org. Okay, and my name is Dr. Scott Weinstein. Dr. Scott usually works the best because people mess up my last name. I don't know why, but they do. All right, and if I've stirred up any questions in the back of your mind or in the front of your mind or someplace else, and you don't want to talk about it in front of the entire group of people that you're trying to compete against and join with, give me a call, okay? Everything we do is confidential. One of the things that I love about our work is that you can call us without anybody knowing, okay? But you can also come to your deans because they know what we do, and they support our program wonderfully. And because they send you to us doesn't mean you have been blacklisted. It means they really want to help you. Okay, I've only seen that come from this law school. I guess I can ask, anyone have any questions now? Not a single one, all private stuff. All right, let's go wish our two agents to be the best of luck. I have a question. You can. Well, we can find some. I mean, let me tell you what else we have. And again, this is not for first year because first year students, you're overwhelmed with a lot of things unless you really, really, really are crashing. We have therapy groups around town, okay? We have one that meets in North Miami, and I run some groups up in Pompano, okay? And those groups are focused on just a bunch of people getting together and figuring out what they want to do when they grow up. Okay? We have lawyers who are already licensed. We have people who lost their license, people who are suspended. We have law students. Okay? And a phone call every once in a while is perfectly fine. So if you just want to call and chit-chat, that's fine. Okay? And we're not just for drugs and alcohol anymore. Okay? That's why I'm here. I was brought on in 2004 because we know that there are other issues that affect the lives of law students and lawyers that are outside of drugs and also in conjunction with drug use. So, good question. I'm glad you asked that. Anybody else? Anyone else want to come talk with me and visit with me on the phone? Okay, good. I'm done. 15 minutes is over, right? All right, that was the best 15 minutes you ever spent, right? All right, good. Thank you.
And I really like the look to the right of you and look to the left of you because this is your therapy group. This is not just your study group. I mean, one of the things about this law school, and you'll find this in all the upper level students who lead our organizations, is people, you know, you're not in this all by yourself. So if you're one of those people who comes to class, gets very intense, and doesn't want to waste a moment and go back to the apartment and study, and then come all by yourself and don't talk to anyone else, you know, that is a recipe for becoming uncomfortable. Whereas if you get to know people and you work with people and you make, you know, you try to make a few friends along the way, you will have something of lasting value. Some of my best friends, I mentioned at orientation, I met in line at orientation, and you know, you're not the only one feeling stress. You're not the only one who doesn't understand everything. And the secret from the practice of law is none of us understands everything. But you know, you have that feeling of aloneness, and you know, talking to other people, helping other people when they have a family tragedy, and you're the person that's going to listen. You're helping them reduce stress, and they will be there for you. Now, we've added a new program this year called the Faculty Mentoring Program. I mean, you each have your full-time faculty who work with you in the classes, but sometimes you're perhaps uncomfortable about going to the person who's going to give you a grade and talking about something. And so what we've done is we've divided this first-year class into groups of 10 or 11, and faculty members have volunteered. This wasn't a requirement, so your faculty mentor is a volunteer, and your faculty mentors will all be contacting you about your groups. These small groups of 10 or 11 are a chance to meet some people, to talk to them, you know, and become friends with them, as well as to get to know a faculty member and learn about his or her specialty. We're having a lunch for all of us in the breezeway. And some of the faculty mentors are here today, and those of us who are will be meeting with our groups or our tables with our names on them. For those of you whose faculty are not here today, they will be reaching out to you and setting up meetings. You know, this is not an addition to your workload, but it's an opportunity just to have one more mentor, you know, one more friend, and one more opportunity to have someone to ask questions to. And, you know, among the things we'll talk about are, you know, how much you need to carve out time for family. You need to make sure those are the people that are going to keep you healthy. They're going to keep, if you only talk to law students, your perspective will become very narrow. And so we want to keep those people in our life, and we'll, you know, that's the kind of thing we can talk about in these groups, as well as the technicalities of law study. So I hope you'll all join us for the lunch, and if you're in a mentor group, we'll meet out there. So thank you for being part of this today. And thank you to our speakers. One final announcement, and I apologize. If you are a student who came with advanced standing, including some of the lawyers from other countries, in the atrium conference room on the second floor, Assistant Dean Hernandez and Assistant Dean Fonseca Nader will be your advisors, and they will meet with you upstairs in the atrium conference room.